Alrighty. Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, right? Yes, today is Saturday. I'm going to be doing something very different for me. I have never streamed to multiple platforms before. So we're live on Twitch, we're live on Instagram, we're live on YouTube, and YouTube Shorts. So, all new platforms. You can also see that things have gotten a little bit of a rework here on Streamlabs, or on my stream, whatever you want to call it. I made me a new intro, got a new outro, got a new break screen, and also made a new little background. But we're going to be doing some art today. We're just going to kind of like work through the nerves right now because I haven't streamed in a couple of weeks. I keep saying that every single time that I come and stream. But we're going to dive into this. We're going to finish this illustration. I'm going to try my best to finish this illustration, and we're going to listen to some coffee table and coffee house jazz. So grab your art, grab your coffee, and let's just get into some art. All right, let me jump over to my drawing. So this is what we were working on the last two streams. This is an adventure party, like portrait illustration, whatever you want to call this. We've got our mage, we've got our knight, and we got like this character down here that we really don't know what his class is within this party. I kept calling him Rogue, so we're gonna keep calling him Rogue. So we finished illustrating our mage. We kind of did a little bit of work with the background and the lighting. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna finish up the rest of the characters and hopefully kind of get this one over with, because we're 3 streams into it and it's still not done. All right, so let me put my headphones on. Let me get my keyboard out of the way. I did a little bit of a sound check before I started streaming, but if anything doesn't sound right, y'all please let me know and I'll get it corrected. But I hope y'all are having a fantastic day and I hope y'all are ready to get creative. Let me readjust that so I can keep monitoring. All right, so let me delete that because I did not mean to make that layer. So I've already gotten my night layer opened up. And let's see. What layer do I want to start with? I think let me dive into the hair. Let me get the hair colored first. So let me look over my last folder and see just how I did it. So I did two multiply layers and I just let the base color show through. I will still probably have to add a little bit of a highlight layer to this one because it is a little bit darker hair. It's not like it's the shiny lavender white hair that was on our mage. So let me come up here and I'll set this to a multiply. I'm going to grab the color of the hair and make sure that I am on a good layer. Yep. And I don't think I need to drop my opacity or anything like that just yet, so I can come in and adjust that later. But I hope you are all having a wonderful Saturday morning. I hope y'all got to sleep in late and relax. If you're working today, I'm very sorry. Okay, I think my sound is a little bit loud. My music is a little bit loud. Can't really hear myself, so let me turn that down. I don't know why that seems to be the one that always contradicts. Is that better? Or am I just not talking to my mic again? That's at 3%. Let me do this. Let me go into Epidemic and actually turn the volume down. Let me make sure that I don't have any contradicting audio going through right now. Turn that back up a little bit. Okay, we're gonna roll with that for a little bit. Sorry. More technical difficulties, that's a given. That's always gonna happen. It's not pre-recorded, so let me turn that down. because I do hear myself a lot louder, but not in a good way. That didn't sound right. It just now caught up to me, and it sounded very like hollow. We'll find that out in just a second. I don't have a noise filter on, do I? Okay, well let me try that. I'm terribly sorry, y'all. This is always happens. It always happens. If you come to one of my streams, you're gonna watch me struggle with technology. I don't have. Oh, that's why. Why? Okay, so you. No, my camera's not picking it up. Why did that one just do that? That shouldn't be doing anything. Okay. I think that's good. I think I got it. I'm just gonna move forward and say I got it. All right. Because I think what was happening is I had two audio sources playing over themselves, and that's why I sounded like I kind of had a slight echo to me. Okay, so I need to remember how hair actually flows. It's been a minute since I've actually drawn anything as well. I've been so busy with work and trying to do things here at the house. That's why I haven't streamed. It's been a little busy, a little hectic. Let's see. So that's going to kind of come down to a little pocket. I also had to do a little bit of reset up on my entire setup. One, because I kind of restructured things because come on, focus on me. I just now saw you lose focus. Because I wanted to be able to get to the point to be able to do multi-streaming. I wanted to be able to go to vertical. Me personally, I really don't like vertical videos, but that seems to be the popular thing right now. So just get it over with and do it. But yeah, I did a little bit of rework on my stream, and I got 2 new monitors, so I had to take the TV that I was using as a monitor and pull that out and had to do some wire reworking. I also really didn't like my wire management. It's a lot better now. Still not where I want it to be, but it's a lot better. So there's been a multitude of reasons why I haven't streamed in a little bit. Okay, so I don't want to get too crazy on the hair because I don't want it to look like super realistic. I just want to have a little bit of a design there, a little bit of an aesthetic. This is going to be quite in shadow, so I might just add a little bit larger shadows down here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to catch, I don't want to bleed over on these. I want to give it a little bit more space. So let's do that. That. Okay. So I'm gonna leave it just like that. I might add a little bit more, maybe up here, just to kind of fill in some of the emptiness. And we'll add a little bit here. We're just gonna leave it as is, and as I always say, if I need to go back and change it, I will. Focus on me, camera. Why are you not focusing? There we go. Eye tracking is not one to work. It don't like hats. So as for coloring in beards, you really want to do, you want to put the detail there, but you don't want to put a whole bunch, because it's going to end up looking more speckled, because all the hairs are so small. It's not really like, I mean, you can do some large broad strokes like that, but for hair, like it, for beards, I prefer to kind of shade it more towards the back and just do a few little spikes moving forward. So it's kind of a mixture between adding a whole bunch of shading to it and then keeping it pretty large shadows, because I don't want all that attention right there. So I'll kind of strategically place them. I will more or less just catch the whole underside of it and all the parts that are going to be in the shadows. So just kind of flick some lines around here. And because beards are typically fluffy, it'll kind of curve around. And I might add just a few little pockets of shadow here. And I think that is all the detail that I need to put on the beard, and I think that's fine. So that's the shading for the night hair. That's the dark shadows. It's not the darkest shadows, as we said in our last stream. The darkest shadows are is the actual line art, these deep black pockets. So let me make another multiply layer. And I'm going to grab a airbrush. I need it to be soft. I am on the right layer, and I don't want it to be too terribly big. I just want to do some fill ins. I did not set it to multiply. There we go, set it to multiply. Catch that, a little bit there. And nope, not like that, not like that. So just like that, and then I'll drop the opacity down of that layer to bring it to a nice, even, less punchy look. And my phone's going off. What's going on? That is just, oh. So let's see. Now if I want to, I can go back in and add in some more shading, like smooth shading blending in. But I'm just gonna catch the areas that I feel haven't gotten enough. Like up here and right here in the center of the hair. I'm gonna drop the opacity down of the multiply brush. Nope, not multiply brush, airbrush. That's the word I was looking for. And add a little bit more down here. Maybe not. Let me go back. Let me go back. That just kind of looks like it's doing a weird fold in. I don't want it to look like that. So I'm just going to add a little bit more here because, as we said, it's going to be hidden behind the majority of the body. Okay, so we got that, and I'm okay with that. I did not get the notification for it, but I did see that you subscribed over on YouTube. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. But thank you so much for subscribing. did that not go off? I don't know why. I'll have to check that and find out why notifications are not working. I figured they'd show up across multiple platforms. I'm really not sure. All right, continuing on. But if anybody follows, subscribes, or anything like that, and I miss it, I'm terribly sorry. As I've said, this is a new setup, and things aren't really... I don't think things are going to be going my way. Okay. So, now that the hair is done, let's jump down to the leather accents of the night. So I'm going to set a multiply layer, and I'm going to grab, where's it at? Just the default studio pin. Select this, and this I'm really going to have to make sure I don't go too dark. I'm going to have to just barely have that enough separation in the colors so it's not all blending together and just looks like one deep dark shadow. So I dropped it down a little bit, and I think that is okay. And because this is going to be the part closest to the arm, like up underneath the arm, I can hide that. I can fill that in. I don't have to worry about light leaking through. And really, that should all be in shadow, but I want to have a little bit of separation in it. Same thing with this down here, except that's a little bit further, and I may add just a little bit of light hitting that. Do that. Come around here. And then down here, because the light's going to be hitting the... Sorry, my direction's off. Because the light's going to be hitting the front of the arm, the majority of the back is going to be in shadow, and we're going to have a little bit of light on both sides. So, that. Let me expand the size up a bit. Okay. Sorry, I just want to make sure everything was still up. Alright, so now jump over here. Actually, give me 1 second. Let me add a little bit more to this so it's not just that one straight line. Alright, so now let's add some here. I'm not going to worry about putting any shadows up towards the front of the belt because that's all going to be getting hit by the light. So with that in mind, it'd probably be about right here before the body starts turning and the actual shadows start to come in. So this I can add completely in shadow because it's far enough back and it's going to be cut off. So let me add some variation of lines over here, and I'll color all of this in because that is the back of our character. And add a little bit here. We'll just go ahead and fill that in. We're just going to add a little bit of a line separating down in there. Okay. So yeah, see, I don't want it to be too dark. I want to actually drop down the opacity a little bit, just so that way there is two different colors. It's close, but it's not completely different. So now, over on this side, we'll do the inverse of what we did over on the other side. Because the light's going to be kind of shining through his arms, with his arm kind of be pressing at... Can't speak. Because his arm's going to be pressing out, that light's going to be able to come through a lot more. I am good with that. So let's see, what else do I have on this layer? I've got the boots and the straps and the hairband, which the hairband doesn't really matter. It can just be one solid color, but we're just gonna fill that in. We're gonna kind of just match up with the hairline and just add a little bit of extra detail in there. All right, so now down to the scabbard, and light's gonna be hitting mostly broadside. So we're gonna add this color in on the rib of the scabbard, and we're gonna add some depth to show that it is leather straps. It's not just cloth moving around. And curve that shadow in just a little bit, maybe not that much, just a little bit. Okay. Now let's jump down to the boots. Same thing. Actually, no, with it being down here, it's going to be unnoticeable, so we'll go ahead and just fill in this, at least this portion of the boot, and then we'll add a little bit of a separation right there. Now over here, you can definitely see a lot more of the boots, so there's going to be a lot more light coming in. So we will add some shadow around the lower parts, right over here on the edge, and then fill that in. Okay, so that finishes the boots, the belt, the straps, the scabbard, at least the leather straps on the scabbard. We're just worrying about the leather right now. So that is everything on there. Let me do a little bit more, and I will do a soft brush. And you really don't need fancy brushes to make art like this. I did use a fancy watercolor brush. I'm pretty sure it was free though. Like the majority of my brushes are free. I do have some paid because I do like supporting other artists. But to make art like this, you don't need most expensive brushes. Just like with painting, if you have the skill and the knowledge of knowing how to be able to apply something, you can make beautiful art. But like all this is just the default studio brush inside of Procreate. It's this brush. It's my favorite brush to use. And then the soft airbrush, which most art programs have a soft airbrush. So you can make stuff like this with just the default program. Now, once you start expanding on and you want to be able to just skip past things without having to do textures on your own, you can find those fancy brushes. I would recommend finding watercolor brushes, because that's when you can get these little like gritty textures that will look real nice once you actually blur out the background. Art tangent aside, brush tangent aside, we're going to get right back to this. So I am on my next multiply layer. I'm going to drop the opacity down of that again because I don't want it to be super dark. And I'm going to add a little bit of a crease. What was that? I don't know why that popped up. So because leather some softer leathers can have a little bit of a fold in the center, that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just adding that little bit of a fold, that crease, and then I'm going to add a soft shadow, and here I can actually blend that in over into the lighter side. I'm also going to add a little bit here down low. I don't want it to look super soft like it's some type of fabric. I still want it to look like it's leather. Kind of blend over a little bit more. And we'll just blend this up into the front a little bit. Alright, stick with that. And then now come up here to the straps. Same thing, just a little bit. We don't need much. Same there. Don't really need any there. I'll just go ahead and get rid of that. And we'll just add a little bit of a gradient down here. Here we'll just add some slight gradients to it. Okay. And then now come down to the boots. And Now I'll do a kind of a more broad-faced shadow, because that is going to be the back of the leg. Shade down here and just add a little bit there around the cuff. Now, because that is a little bit darker than what I want, I am going to drop the opacity of the entire layer. Okay, so it's fine with the leather straps, so I'm going to group this layer and I'm going to rename it straps. I'm going to go back and group my hair layer and rename it hair, because I am trying to get better about keeping my layers intact and keep them all grouped together. So we can quickly knock out the scabbard, because that is only one item. So same thing. Why does that music sound loud? That music sounds really loud now. Turn that down. Yeah, that sounded really loud. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Okay, so multiply layer, select the layer, and default brush, paint it right down the center, paint this one right down the center, run it all the way up, and then we're going to add a deep shadow underneath the leather straps because they are sticking up off of the scabbard. And we'll just add a little bit there. And now we'll make another layer, make it another multiply, drop the opacity down, and we will grab our airbrush. And just slap a little bit of color on there. So now I will go back and I'll drop the opacity down a little bit more of my hard shadows and kind of balance it out with my my soft shadows. So now we'll go ahead and merge that into a layer, and oh gosh, my mind is, I probably borked the spelling on that, but we're just gonna roll with it. It's still early in the morning. All of our brains aren't working yet, so that's okay. Okay, so multiply. Now we're going to jump down to the tunic. We'll drop that down to 55. We will select our standard line brush. And now we will start coloring in the folds. Add a little bit there. Went a little over on that one. And still good. Okay. Okay. Good. Cool. Give me 1 second, y'all. Alright. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure everything is still going. Continuing on. Everything, there's got a lot of folds down here on the back, so I want to make sure that I capture those, but I don't want to get too crazy with them. And because that part of the body is a little bit lower down and the arms, again, we're like chicken winging out now, so I want to add a little bit there and add a little bit of line variation because I don't want just a straight line. And then now we will kind of add in a little bit more dark shadows. And actually, you know what? Nope, hang on. Let me think about this for a second. I may actually like that. Let me finish this out. Let's see. Not like that. Let me go back and redo that. I think I like that. I think I'm gonna keep that there. And then I can blend in the rest with a little bit of no, I'm going against myself now. let me cut this back some, and then I'll add my soft shadows, pushing further into the to the light. We'll add a little bit there. We'll stick with that. Stick with that, and then now we'll move on. Let me add a bit of drop shadow underneath the belt, and then the fold. Okay. You know what? The majority of this is going to be in the back. So that's going to be more of a straight line. And let me just do a mass fill down here. Color that in. Not what I wanted to do. There we go. So now, hey, how are you? I'm doing very good. Thank you so much for dropping in. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and actually just fill in the back of this because that is going to be covered mostly in the back. I don't know why it took me so long to register that that was what I was originally trying to do. Is I want to, because that is the back of our character, I want to have the fill shadows all the way back there, and then I'll add the soft shadows blending out. I'll fill this in. And same thing with this, because light will be leaking through. You're also drawing. What are you drawing? You can't come around here and tell me you're drawing without immediately telling me what you're drawing. What are you drawing? Okay, fill that in. Color all of this in. I can add in a cut shadow over here. If I can undo, you're good, but you still gotta tell me what you're drawing. I'm drawing, I'm sorry, I'm gonna probably botch this name. Jimin from BTS. Is that the Korean boy band? There you go. Sorry, hang on. There we go. Okay. I said boy band. I don't pop band. I'm sorry. I'm not too familiar with BTS. I think I remember the name. Hello, Minty. How are you? But yes, I think I remember the name, or the group name BTS, but I'm not entirely familiar with them. So I apologize if I botch anything. Yes, that's them, and you said his name right. No worries. Awesome, cool. I was a little bit worried on that. I'm terrible with names. Alright, let me fill this in. But I hope y'all are having a fantastic Saturday. I don't know if I already said that. I know I said it at the start of the stream, but I hope y'all are having a fantastic Saturday. Alright, so I think I've got a little bit of, yes, I got some shadow, not shadows, colors. I got some colors up at the top of the helmet and the collar piece. But for y'all who are just now joining in, this is the piece that we're working on today. It's taken me 3 streams to get to this point, whereas before, back in the day when I streamed religiously, I could get it done in 1. But times have changed. So let me fill this in. I don't want to add too much shadows up here. You're doing all right. How are you doing? I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Having a great Saturday morning so far. I actually had coffee this morning. Last time I streamed, I didn't, and I started super early in the morning. So I've got a little bit more energy. And I also haven't streamed in a little bit, so I had a little bit of nerves this morning, but they're all kind of just dissipating now. It's okay, good work takes time. You are correct. You can't rush a good thing. I'm going to fill this in because I need to keep in mind with how I'm actually shading things. That's going to be lit up, so I'm not going to shade that. But this, we can go ahead and add a little bit there and a little bit tucked up under here. Add just a little bit of shadows down here. Okay. And I think that finishes up our night character. Sorry, I still gotta shade the pants and the armor. The clothing, for the majority of the clothing, that finishes up the majority of the clothing. So, actually, I take that back. I keep forgetting my own processes. It's been so long. So let me group this real quick while I'm thinking about it. I will set this to a multiply layer, and I will drop this down to about 55%, just like all the rest, and we will grab our airbrush. And now I will do my soft shadow blends. Just gonna do it kind of just flicking the shadows about, not gonna get crazy with them because we will be kind of blurring some of this image once we begin to wrap things up. Drop those down, and let me drop these down. Probably come back in and erase the top half of this shadow, because that might be catching some light right there. I think that'll work. Am I on the right layer? I am not on the right layer. Do I have the right brush? Okay, I have the right layer and I have the right brush. Now we can get back to it. Okay, so you said that you were drawing Jimin. What type of medium do you work on? Do you work on digital? Do you do traditional? Do you draw with sand? Like what's your favorite type of creative medium? My preferred is digital. I mean, kind of obviously, but I have been getting back in traditional and I'm really enjoying it. Painting with sand, that sounded so dumb. I know that there are people who draw with sand and light tables, but saying that and people who don't know that, you just sound insane. But yes, if you are an artist watching, what is your favorite creative medium to draw, paint, create in? Do you make different types of crafts with your hands? Did I just drop out? Did my stream drop? Or was that just Twitch that, man, I don't know if I just dropped out entirely. I hear my sound again, so I think I'm good. I think we're still good. Anyway, in case that didn't get picked up, anybody who is an artist or a creative person in the chat watching right now, what is your favorite creative medium? Do you paint? Do you draw digitally? Do you make crafts with your hands? Like what type of art do you do? If I have any difficulties, I'm terribly sorry. This is my first time trying to stream to YouTube and Twitch and Instagram all at the same time. I won't add some right there. I'll do that. I like traditional, but I'm in the process of trying to learn digital. It's tricky though. It is, but it is actually very easy. It is at first, but once you... the hardest thing to learn with digital is to learn how to work with layers. You can do things all on one layer. And most traditional artists that get into digital right off the bat do things on one layer, and that's perfectly fine. But as you can see right now, I've got a whole bunch of layers. Like, let's see, what layer am I at right now? 118. I'm at 118 layers right now. The best thing about working with layers is you can always go back, you can edit it. You don't have to make any type of permanent choice to your illustrations. But there is something to being able to paint everything on one layer. And I think that's pretty cool, no matter which way you do it. Right now I'm doing a digital piece. Ooh, nice. I'm an artist mostly. I draw on digital tablet, or I do traditional. Nice. So, what type of traditional... my brain's not working. What type of traditional art products do y'all use? Do you use oil paints, acrylics? Y'all gotta tell me this, come on. You can say traditional, but you gotta be more specific. Like, I started teaching myself how to work with oil paints, and that's been so much fun. I started following along some Bob Ross tutorials, and actually I did one Bob Ross painting. I've done a couple of them digitally, but I wanted to get into more traditional, so I started learning how to do oil painting. And I've done a couple other pieces that you definitely can't learn from Bob Ross. Like, I did a Batman painting for my dad's birthday not too long ago. But, oh, I'm on the erase layer. That's why nothing's happening. And I'm not even on the correct layer. That would have been bad. Digital art mistake number 1. Wrong layer. Pens and paper, pencils and paper, and sometimes I do colored pencils. Nice. I used to work with a lot of colored pencils back in the day. Right before I got into to digital, I was doing pencil color and Copic markers. I'll do my bases in Copic, and then I'd go back over and add some highlights with highlights and shadows with pencil colors. I haven't touched pencil colors in a long time. They're sitting in my Amazon cart right now. I just haven't ordered any yet. But I definitely want to get back to working with pencil colors. To me, that just has like such a nostalgic feeling to me, because that's what I drew with for the longest time, and I think that'd be really, really fun to get back to. And once I actually get to the ability, or the place of having more space, I will more than likely set up to do some more traditional art streams. Like, I've got an easel, but I'm very limited on space. Like, my green screen is like right here behind me. And I would love to be able to start doing traditional drawings and paintings and all manner of things. For colorful stuff, I like watercolor and acrylic mostly. And if I have to shade them, then markers. And for black and white stuff, I like to use charcoal and pencils. I am terrible with charcoal. Absolutely terrible. I tried it for a couple months, about 7 years ago, and I haven't touched them since. But I love doing watercolor. I wish I've done more of it. Watercolor was one of those things that I never got into because it was so intimidating to me. It was like, I don't know how to do this, and I don't even know where to begin. And at that point in time, there was YouTube videos, but no one could really explain things properly. I feel like a lot of traditional art, you just gotta like dive into and just figure it out. Like, to start putting paint on a canvas or a page and hope for the best. But watercolor is another one I want to get back into. But charcoal, I don't think I'm gonna touch charcoal again. I don't think I'm gonna touch that. If I could convince myself that yes, I can do it, then maybe. But there are so many other art mediums that I want to get into and kind of like refine those skills that I'm not going to touch charcoal for a very long time. Like I want to get into clay sculpting. I think that'd be so much fun. I did I say it like I did a whole bunch. I did a little bit of sculpting when I was younger, with some modeling clay, some air dry clay, and that was so much fun. So I think that'd be really cool to get back into sculpting now. Okay, I'm rambling a whole bunch. I'm terribly sorry. So now, let me make sure I stay on that. I am fine with that. Let me go back to 35% of the opacity. And now let's shade the trousers. Let me rename this. Tunic. Let me go ahead and do this. Pants. Set that to multiply. Drop the opacity down. We'll go about 50, and we will select the color. Select my line art brush. My line art, my fill. I like charcoal because no mistakes are permanent and can fix easily. I agree with you on that, but it is messy. Super, super, super messy. Most of the time, whenever I am actually working on an art piece, when I actually have time for it, there's a good chance, like I have to jump away and do so many different things. Like today is a wonderful example of I have time to do something, but like I usually have to like put things down, have it clean out real quickly, and then get to whatever I'm trying to do wherever it is. But like oil painting, I recently got a little case that I can stick my palette in, so that way I can keep my paints kind of dry and kind of damp, and I don't have to commit to actually cleaning it up just yet. But yeah, charcoal is it's one of those things it's so dang messy that, and I know I could just put it all off to the side and go wash my hands, but I got to put things away. If I want to stay organized and want to keep my thoughts straight, I got to put everything away. But, I mean, more power to anybody who actually does work with charcoal. It is very cool to see some of the stuff that people can make with charcoal. I'm just not going to be one of those people. I say that like it's a definite, I'm never going to do it again. I may. Hello, Spicy Fruit Salad. How are you? Did you get any more votes on continuing your story? Because if you continue your story, I will draw another little mechanic otter to go along with it. Don't listen to the masses. Make your story. Whoop. Yep, looks like Mike wants to continue. Nice. I'm assuming that's what all the sound from Discord was last night. As long as a few people want to continue, I'm all for continuing. Do it. Absolutely do it. I'm also terribly sorry I haven't dropped into any of your streams. I've been immensely busy. Actually, you know what? Let me cut that back a little bit more. I will go ahead and say right there. We'll be fine. All right. Now, let me make another layer. And sorry, my mind drew blank real quick. Yeah, I dropped a few messages in the channel and then dropped a bad link to the roll selection for Mike. I'm assuming that was like within Discord. It was a specific role that you were trying to get him a part of. And let me do some kind of soft shadow fills. It's all good. I know people got lives and it's summer, so things are a bit slow. Not for me. Things are picking up very, very rapidly. I also saw in your Discord that y'all were having some storms come through. How's all that going? Y'all still having bad storms up there, or? We've been having some interesting storms down here in Louisiana. Just random rain and thunderstorms just popping up out of nowhere. One thing we had that was really, really cool the other night was like rain just came pushing through, and then the sun was setting, so this dark wall of cloud just pushed on through. All that light was beaming off of it, and it was so bright and so beautiful, and then just the brightest rainbow started popping up. It was so cool. It was so cool. Yeah, he said he would have to remember to come back every day, but I made a story engine quest role so I could tag people when they vote to come in. Okay. And I guess I misspoke. Summer has been busy time for lots of people, so Twitch has been quiet. Okay. Okay. Now I'm caught up with what you said. You probably spoke properly, but I did not read correctly. Storms are gone now, but we did have some fun ones. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I'm happy and I'm glad that y'all got through them perfectly fine. Okay, let me undo that. I don't like the way that looked. Okay, so drop that down a little bit and that a little bit more. Okay, and that is the pants. So now the part that I'm dreading the absolute most is coloring the armor pieces on our knight. I have not painted metal in so long. So let me make this into a layer. Storms there, no tornadoes. The dogs don't freak out, so I get to listen to the angry skies for a bit and seeing a nice lightning show. Not that they're bad enough to leave any damage. Okay, that's good. Yeah, my dogs freak out terribly during rainstorms. If there is a small possibility of rain or lightning or just any type of bad weather, my dogs freak out. So yes, I am towards the bluer hue of things. So let me see, how does this look if I want to add a little bit more blue to this. Maybe not that much. Let me go a little bit lighter. Okay. No, not like that. Round that off some. Okay, there we go. Oh, nope, hang on. I'm forgetting how light's moving now. Get that out the way. Come a little bit forward on that, and same with this one. Get a little bit of an undershadow there. A little bit there, a little bit there. And all this will be in shadow because that's behind the arm. It's a little bit wider than what I want, so I'm going to shave that down some. Okay. I know this is kind of lazy, but when I'm trying to do materials in my digital art, I just look for a picture of the material and I just lower the opacity. I do that every now and then. I do it more as a challenge to make sure that I keep my ability to paint something a certain way, and potentially learn something new. Like I'm still doing everything in a bit of a cell shaded format, and like it's definitely not how you're supposed to paint metal. But with the rest of this image, like you can kind of see down here, just I do more rough highlights to kind of add a little bit more metal texture to it. If I wanted to, I could come in and I could add in. I just saw that you followed me over on Instagram. Thank you so much. Yeah, I could come in and I could pull one of my mini textured brushes, and I could come in and add some stuff in like that. But I'm trying to not rely on all my fancy brushes. Okay. All right, so let me go back to this. Now I could also think a little bit more technical about how I'm drawing things. Like I could add in my textures and my lights. That's not going to show up there, is it? It's not. Oh, because I'm on a multiply layer. That's why. So let me undo all that and select my correct. There we go. That's the color I need. Yeah, sorry, my train of thought's gone. But yeah, I've done that before in the past. I have pulled textures whenever I just wanted to skirt past something. Like doing that for water textures is incredibly quick. But me personally, I want to try to continue to push myself to do something that I haven't done, or refine something that I've been trying to work on. See, like I'll add a little bit of variation here. Maybe, yeah, I'll go ahead and leave that. Just a little bit of texture. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'll add in my fill shadows, and then I'll go in and I'll add my highlights in. I wish you would stay focused on me, camera. Quit trying to track something else. Okay, so I'll add a little bit of variation to my shadows here. Just a little bit, just enough to, what did I do? Did I just undo something? Did my palm just undo something? I'm not sure. Yeah, all I want is just a little bit of texture, so that way it's not a perfectly straight line. I won't get too crazy with it because I don't want it to look fluffy. I don't want it to come off looking like a fluffy cloud texture. That's what I don't want to happen. But up here, I might add just a little bit more. And I don't want it to look sharp. I kind of want it to look more like little tiny hammered textures. And I can fill the majority of this in because that's going to be definitely caught in the shadows. Come up around here and we'll just add a little bit of texture. That's a little too much. Okay, and I can fill that in because that will be caught by the majority of the torso. So, here's a little question for y'all. As an artist, what is your most frustrating thing about the medium that you're working in? Like, what is causing you the most pain whenever you're creating a piece? Like we were talking about earlier, for me, with like when we were talking about charcoal, it's just too dang messy for me. Which I guess that doesn't really count as a stress. It's just like a small little annoyance. That's a good question. It's probably going to be a whole bunch of them. And Spicy, same question to you, but with writing. What's your biggest frustration with writing? For any of y'all who don't know, Spicy Fruit Salad is over here on Twitch. She's a writer. She's also a live streamer. Very, very cool person to go talk to. Always shows her dogs on stream, so be sure to go drop her a follow and check out one of her streams. And for this, I'm just going to shade all of this in. Same layer? Yep, same layer. Editing has been the most painful and frustrating part for me. I can see that. Always having to go back and make sure you didn't spell something incorrectly and all that. My only problem with charcoal is that I can't really put away before I finish and put a fixative spray on it because it will be ruined. Hang on, let me reread that again. I don't think it's processing in my head. My only problem with charcoal is that I can't really put it away before I finish it and put fixative spray on it because it will be ruined. So like I have to finish it before I go, okay. So you have to put some type of spray on it? Is that what I'm hearing right? I love brainstorming, world building, outlining, writing, drafting, editing, 100K words I wrote. Trying to read these things too quick. I love brainstorming, world building, outlining, writing and drafting, editing. The 100,000 words I wrote sucks. Yeah, that's a lot to have to go back and edit. But hey, that's what you have Spiffy for. Send it off to her, let her read it, and then just send you back a little bit of tidbits. Speaking of that, have you gotten back the draft from her that you sent to her? Or is she still mulling that one over? Yeah, she has finished reading it and is packing up her notes to mail back. She has promised that it is very colorfully chaotic with all of her scribbles. That'll be fun. Which I expected nothing less. Well, it sounds like you're going to have some fun in your future. Yes, yes, because it's so easy to just swipe the charcoal off the paper. We always put some fixative spray on it so it stays the way it is. Okay. That probably explains why a lot of the charcoal I did in the past would get messed up. I didn't know that you had to put some type of spray on it. Which I knew it wasn't gonna like dry or anything. I just thought you had to leave it as charcoal. You learn something new. Actually, that kind of falls kind of roughly in line with me teaching myself oil painting right now. There's some type of wash you got to put over it to kind of seal it. I haven't really found any true answers for that yet. Are there storage boxes of some sort that can protect it? I'd imagine. I'm sure you could get like one of those like little Tupperware boxes at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something like that. I thought it was common knowledge that you have to spray it down. Maybe if you're more ingrained in the charcoal world, but definitely not for me. I didn't know that. You see, I did not go to school for art. I'm entirely self-taught. So the practical things like that, I did not learn. I've had to figure all that out on my own. And because I really haven't dove into charcoal too much, I can see how it just went under the table. Okay, so I think that will be good for that layer. Let me make a new layer. Pretty much only working in multiply layers at this point. I will be adding in all my highlight layers later on. I don't know if there are boxes like that, but I don't think that would help much. Well, it might help you just so you can get back to, like if you could put it in there, like if you had it on a clipboard or something, like put the clipboard inside the box, close it up, run off, do whatever you need, come on back, then spray it down when you actually have time. Maybe. I may just select a darker color for this. Let me just do some big fills and then I will come back on all this. Let me erase this a little bit because it did get a little bit crazy up here. Okay. And I will do one more multiply layer and I will, let's see, can I get away with just leaving this one at full strength? I can. I won't do it entirely at full strength. What was that notification? That was nothing. there to be a notable edge on this shoulder piece. And I may have to come back and add a little bit darker line to that. Yeah, because that is now amongst the darker colors. But I can add one here. I can add one here. And I can add one here. This is mostly just sort of like a rounded off piece of metal, but we'll still add it. True if you draw at home, and yes, a box would be useful to store the unfinished piece in. I usually go to an art class, so I can't leave it there unfinished, sadly. Ah, okay. Yeah, I got you now. Because this is a little bit more of a broad angle, I will add a little bit bigger of an edge here. I will not put that right there because that will be caught by the light. Bit more dark shadow up here underneath the folds. Okay, so I think I am okay with that at this point. Let me just think about this real quick. What if I, okay, that is at the darkest. I'll leave that there. Drop that down a little bit more. And I think I'm good with the armor for this character. So let me rename this. Give me my keyboard. Armor. Writing a 250-word flash fiction for a writing contest, I need a name for my main character. Flash fiction, is that a specific genre, or is it just like it's a quick word or quick story contest? What's the genre of it, and I might be able to help you come up with a name. Okay, characters done, at least for this part. Night is done. I did not want to hide it. Let's jump down to the rogue and let's go through the same process that we did on the last one. Nothing but multiply layers, and then we'll go back and add the quick flash fiction. Just means eerie story. Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm gonna think about that one. All right, so multiply layer. That is all the leather straps down here. Highlights, because they will get blurred out. Let's see. So do you have any tips for artists who are just getting into digital art? So far, all the videos I found are for complete beginners who can't draw anything, and I'd like to believe I can draw. That's a very good question. I have been trying to process, hang on, is my sound not? Did my sound cut out? Can y'all hear me right now? Why? Interesting. What happened? What happened? Testing. Sound on Twitch is gone. I can hear you on YouTube. That does not make any sense. That makes no sense. Okay, anyway. I think it's me. I think I might... I don't know. Let me restart Twitch on my phone. But I've been trying to figure out how to actually start structuring out how to draw videos, how to do this type of art style, medium, what have you, all that kind of stuff. Trying to think straight on those is so damn tedious. But for people who can already draw, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a good starting point. For somebody who can already draw, if you don't know a whole bunch about digital illustration or working with digital art, I would definitely look into learning how layers work, learning the different blending modes, and yeah, layers, blending modes, and then how to basically take the textures that you're used to doing with traditional and finding the appropriate brush to either do that, or learning how to replicate that with just whatever kind of brush you have. So for example, with the layers, so I mean, you've seen me kind of go up and down a laundry list of layers here, which I'm going to assume that you already know how layers work in digital art, to an extent. But like, so if I draw everything on different layers, so for example, the hand down here on this character, that's on a different layer. I can remove that, I can turn it on. If I want to move it around, I can, just fine. If I need to use a warp tool and change the actual design of it, I can. Same thing with the coloring. You've seen me do everything on different layers for here. Let me go back to our night. So I did all of my colors on one layer, so my colors are separate from my line art. My shadows are separate from my base color, and so on and so forth. So, and then all of these are using a very specific blending layer, blending type. I'm sorry, my brain just shut down. A blending mode, that's the word I'm looking for. I'm using blending modes for each and every single one of them. I'm using a multiply layer, which takes the base color and darkens it. To put it simply, it just darkens it. You do have a darken mode. I prefer the way multiply works. You also have stuff like color burn, linear burn, normal, light and screen, dodge, add. So like, you can use multiply and use your base color to get your shadows without having to find your colors for that. So if you're trying to create all uniform colors, you can use everything within multiply layers. You can use a color layer, so that way everything follows that same color scheme. I use add layers for highlights and really, really bright things. But there's a whole laundry list of different things that I could go on about for learning digital art. My best piece of advice is just to dive in and start playing around with things. Do one paint on one layer, make a new layer, change that blending mode, paint on top of that, and you can kind of quickly find out the different abilities that each layer and tool has. And if you're doing stuff on iPad, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing all my stuff on an iPad. So I have access to like the app Procreate. I have access to Clip Studio Paint, Ibis Paint. There's like Adobe Sketch. I think it's now Adobe Fresco, I think is what it is. There's a whole bunch of different art programs that you can use on an iPad. If you're on computer and you don't want to spend any money for an art program, the best thing that you can do is to go download Krita. Krita is a free illustration program that I would say is on par close to Clip Studio Paint. The layouts are different, but if you're used to one, you can pick up the other. So if you start out on Krita, you can transition over to Clip Studio Paint, and if you can get used to Clip Studio Paint, then you can jump over to like Adobe Photoshop if you want. But if you're a starting digital artist and you don't have a lot of money to be able to get into the craft like as far as you want to, my best advice would be to download Krita, get you one of those like little pen tablets. Those things work phenomenally. It is a bit of a learning curve to learn how to draw like this and you're looking up at a screen instead of down here. But then like Wacom, Huion, there's another one, I just can't remember it, but those are the two main brands. Xpen, that's it. Huion, Canvas, Huion, Wacom, and Xpen. They all have pen tablets that are actual screens that you can put your drawing program on. And I think the cheapest one is about like $300. They may have gone down since I've last looked, but when I last looked, I believe like a 13-inch display was about $300. But that would be my advice to getting into digital art. If you don't have a whole bunch of money to spend, download Krita, play around with that, see if it's something you're even interested in, and you may learn something new just from that. But play with layers, play with blending modes, learn the different my sound just caught up on Twitch and it just went but yeah, learn the blending modes, learn layers, and just play around with the different brushes. Most art programs have a plethora of textured brushes that you can start playing around with and just learn how all those work. You may find out that a leaf brush will give you the right type of like texture you want to put for hair or metal. So like, don't think of it as just, this is a leaf brush, it can only be used for leaves, it can only be used for bushes, it can only be used for shadows being cast down from trees. You can use it for whatever type of idea you have popping up in your mind. I've used rock textures for metal. I've used cloud brushes for dirt textures, and I use a water texture for fur textures. So whatever you can possibly think of, or even if you're just like, I wonder if this will work, just go for it. Try it out. With digital art, it's very forgiving if you're not doing everything on one layer. If you're doing everything on one layer, don't. But play around with layers. Let's see. Yes, I got very into digital art in what feels like another life and may have collected a ton of free digital texture brushes. I have downloaded so many over the years. I could probably open up a library with the amount of brushes I have, and textures and canvas textures and all that kind of stuff. Now, when you're early on, I was only modifying game screenshots. Well, hey, I mean, that's still something. When I first got into graphic design, that's kind of what I did. I was doing a few game screenshots just to play around with different textures and grunge textures. Then I started using my photos that I took and I started adding textures on top of those. And then when I started getting into actual graphic design, I knew that I could apply these textures in this way to get a certain look for an image. So playing around is probably the best advice anyone can give an aspiring artist, or even a like a long-time artist. Like, I still need to be reminded to play around with art. But yeah, these days I really just use like just a handful of brushes. Like, I have probably about 5 brushes that I really like. Like, I think 2 of them are watercolors. One is the soft airbrush, the just standard line art brush built into Procreate, and then was it a, oh my gosh, what is it? Do I have it on here? It might be on my computer. Yeah, you can make your own textures and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember what it was. It's one brush that looks like really gritty oil paint, and I use that one to add like some quick textures on things. But like when you're really early on in your art career, you're going to think like, oh, like this brush pack is on sale, let me go ahead and get it, it's only $2, and you'll find out that like 90% of those brushes is already something that you probably have. But I'm not saying don't get them, because if you want a pack, go ahead and get a pack. Just most of them on Etsy are like kind of quick throw togethers and duplicates of other ones. So like if you find a YouTuber who's advertising a pack, one, you're helping out an artist directly that way, and possibly not just some spoofing company. But they'll typically spend a little bit more time on their brushes, and you can get some pretty cool ones in there. Like, was it? I think I actually have hers. Oh yeah, the Jing brush packs. Those are very nice, very cool to play with. You get a whole bunch of them too. I think it's the X series on Cube brush. Those are really fun to play around with. And then, where is it at? Mark Brunet's basic brush pack. That's fun to play around with, and you can follow along with his videos. That's an artist I would suggest you to go check out if you want to learn some more stuff about digital painting. He has his own online art school, his own art program, and there's a lot of really great information on there. And you can join up with the Discord community and talk to artists, and just about everybody on there is incredibly helpful. But yeah, go check out Mark Brunet's videos, and he does a lot of digital paintings, and you can pick up a lot of really good information from him. But don't think you just have to watch digital artists to learn how to do something digitally. Like, I still watch a ton of traditional artists, and I take stuff that they do on a traditional medium, and I apply that in my own way in digital. That was a really long rant, but I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for the tips. You're very welcome. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to help them to the best. I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities. All right, continuing on. Sorry about that for anybody who's just watching for the art. So, where was I at? I was down here on the leather straps. I need my... Oh, and that's the other side of things. Audio came back. Yeah, I noticed that it came back over on Twitch, but thank you so much, Spicy. Thank you for keeping an eye on that. One thing you can do with brushes is digitally, this is the last tangent, and then we're going to get back to the art, I promise. You can use, most brushes you can use on your drawing tool, your blending tool, and your erase tool. So, just for example, so let's say I've got, let me find a example. So this is a brush pen. I'm just gonna make a new layer and draw on top of everything. So I can paint this texture in just like that. I can select a different texture. So if I want to get this like skin-ish texture, I can set that to a blend. And it may not come out exactly how I want, but you can see how it's kind of pushing those colors up and kind of blending it in that same manner. And then I can come in and I can find a erase brush. I can select the brush on an erase tool, and then I can come in and I can add that in different ways. I can remove, I can add, blend, all these different things. You can do a lot of really cool things with art. It's not one specific way that you have to do things. Yeah, with TJ, how dare you talk about art on an art stream? I don't have a problem talking about art. I have a problem about going on rants. I used to be really good with talking and working on something at the same time, but if I get started on something now, it's like, let me finish this thought and let me do this one. So let me get these all back to where I need them, so just all erase. Okay. All right, and drop the opacity's already dropped down to about 50%. That's going to be hitting majority light, so I'm not going to paint that right there. Okay, that's not on the same layer. doing is just adding just enough so that way when we do blur the image, you can still see those, like, some details there. Like, I'm not gonna worry about trying to create like edge lines back here. I want really broad shadows to help tell the story with the image. Okay, that's not on the same layer. Okay. There was another writer stream who added that she goes on a rant to her stream bingo. I've gotten very good at getting her off on a rant, and this is why she calls us bingo monsters. I used to have one buddy that would usually jump on a gaming stream with me, and we would go off on really, really long... Actually, sorry, I take that back. I had two buddies that we would go off on really long tangents of things, and I was like, okay, hang on, we need to like refocus, get back to the main goal of it. But yeah, I get that. Because sometimes we would start off with, like, he would start going on about something like, do I want to add on to this? Yeah. We'd kind of egg each other on with it. Alright, so that is enough for that. Let me rename this to pants. Sorry, no, that is straps. That is not pants. Straps. So now we will jump to the pants. And I'll select the color. And where's it at? There you are. That is very, very dark. So I will drop the opacity, which I meant to do at the beginning. Yeah, I don't need a whole bunch of detail down here. I just need to show the form of the image. And that is all that I need to do. Okay, now we can call this group pants. And that is the shirt up underneath. Make a layer for that. Where is my brush? There we go. That's too dark. Drop the opacity. So Spicy, the game screenshots that you were editing, was that for your husband, or was that just to play around with? And that actually brings up a good question. Does your husband stream or record gameplays? Or is he just purely a gamer? I don't need that. That's going to be caught by the shadow, the highlights. Maybe not that much. Okay, that'll be good for the tunic. I'll drop that down a little bit more, make a new layer. Oh, sorry, one more thing about digital art. Learn whatever program you're using, learn what clipping masks are. A clipping mask will let you paint on the base color of whatever you're working on. So that's what I've been doing for all these different colors. That's how my colors are not bleeding over. So if I turn off this clipping mask, you will see that it is bleeding over the lines. And I will do a more drastic example of this like that. So that's sticking off to the side now. The clipping mask is turned off. Clipping mask is now on and it's staying within the base color. So you can quickly paint through things without having to worry about going back to erase whatever kind of bleeds over past your line art. That was one thing that took me a while to figure out because no one ever explained that. No one ever explained what a clipping mask was. Alright, so that, I got one more layer I got to do on this tunic. One more multiply layer, and I'll do an airbrush. And drop that down a little bit more. Okay, that finishes up the tunic. What is this layer? Does this layer not have anything? That layer is empty. Liar! Okay. So that is the scarf, the hair, the eyes, the eyebrows, and the sword and scabbard. Okay. So we'll start up here on the hair. Let me just go ahead and do that. Again, it's going to get blurred out, so we're not going to worry about how bad the details look. We just want to have that information there. Same thing with the eyebrows, and we're also going to drop this down because I keep forgetting to do that. As far as the eyes, well, nope. Is that not on this layer? It is on this layer, but it's lying to me. Okay. So, let's jump down to the scabbard since we got a brown texture right now, or brown color. I'm also on the erase tool. That's probably why that wasn't working. So many layers. I know. Hi Spiffy, how are you? Is this your first time coming to check out one of my streams? But yes, I have many layers. Let me do the scarf now. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Womp womp. Turn that down a bit. Okay, and now down here on the scabbard. Yep, Spicy poked me to swing by and see your art. Well, thank you, Spicy. And thank you for dropping in, Spiffy. Yes, this is the full illustration. I think you saw it on Discord at one point. I think I shared it in the art channel that Spicy made. Which I did a couple more oil paintings that I really need to share in that group, so that way y'all can see them. Let's see, what is next? And I will make another clipping mask, make a multiply layer, and just kind of block this in a little bit. And I'm just going to make one more additional on top of this and do my airbrush. And I also need to do one for the hair. Just kind of blend some of this together. Okay. Not gonna get into detail. Not gonna get into detail. I'm gonna keep telling myself that. We'll just label this layer hair. This is the inside of the mouth, so let's just go ahead and add one multiply layer on top of that. And I think we can get away with just doing a little bit of shadow across both. Just so that way there's some depth in there. And not undo it. Okay? I'll group that. I'll just go ahead and leave that one unnamed. And now we will do the armor set similar to how we did the previous armor set. And I doubt that I still have the previous color. Oh, hey, check it out. I do still have the previous color. All right. So, again, because it's going to be in the background, we don't need any details. Don't need a whole bunch of details. We're just going to do a lot of implied shadows. Just add this here. Do a little bit there. Come around right here. Here, around, down right here off to the side, and color the majority of that in. Also catch this sword right here. We'll do the broad side of the pommel right there in solid color, and we'll just fill this in right here. Hilt, not pommel. Pommel's down at the end. Thank you so much for following, Spiffy. I don't know why, but I'm not hearing any notifications right now. I had to rearrange some things, and a lot of stuff got broke. So I'm sorry if I missed anybody's notifications. All right, let me do a little bit of shading on the eyes. And I think that should wrap up pretty much all of our characters. Let me make one more clipping mask. I really want to finish this illustration today. I do have stuff I've got to take care of too. I have to take care of today. Sorry, my mind's just not wanting to work at all today. But I've got stuff I need to take care of later today. So I don't want to spend all day working on this. If I could, I would, but I can't, so I shan't. Okay. So I believe that wraps everything up. Because our character in the far back is going to get blurred out. He has the least amount of detail. Our knight has the second most, and then our female mage has the most detail. And I think now, at this point, now I can start really pushing all the lighting through and get the actual highlights and all the light rays pushing through, which was something I had to stop myself from working on the last stream. All right, so skin tones are done, hair is done, clothing is done, armor is done. I think we're good. So that's my lights, line art, let me do this. I want to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to flatten it. So I just have my line arts. Focus, camera, focus. And I'm going to make a clipping mask on top of my line art, and I'm going to make it a deep bluish purple color. And I'm going to apply that on top of it. And I'm going to drop this down. Can I may need to do a darker color. So that will actually take away from the shadows. So I need it to be darker. I don't want it to be a solid, like solid black line art. I want it to have a little bit of color into it. Okay, so now I can do the fun part now. So I'm going to set this to an add layer. I'm going to select the orange that we're using for our highlights. And I'm going to do a mass fill of my lights. So I'm going to scale up the airbrush tool, and I'm going to start pushing on top. Because my layer is at the top above everything else, I will be painting above everything. So now I can really start pushing this forward. Maybe not that much. I can bring some up down here. Push some on top of this character. And really want to make sure that we're catching the light on the edges of these characters. Need to make it a little bit bigger. Just kind of blend this through. Get some there, a little bit on the legs. This dude's gonna be caught in so much light down there. Okay, so we got some light coming through now. Drop that down just a little bit. I don't want to make a clipping mask, that was just a habit. Now I will grab a, let's see, where's my watercolor brush at? Grab my fancy pantsy watercolor brush. And now I will start pushing those light rays through. And these I will probably blur out a little bit more. I don't want a whole bunch. I just want something to indicate where the light is pushing through from. So right here, push out from here, and I'll go back and I'll erase a little bit more over the spot that I didn't want to hit, which is right there. Push some more through down here. Maybe not that much. That might be a little too much right there. Push some light through here. I've already got some there. I need to be a little bit more methodical with down here. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, I'm also on the wrong brush type. I'm on the erase tool. Okay, let me drop this down some. I think that'll be fine there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go beneath my highlights, and I'm going to set this to another multiply layer, and I'm going to select the purple color that we have for our sky. And let's see. Can I just do things with this brush? Or do I need, hang on, let me redo this. Let me rethink this. Am I thinking wrong with the multiply brush? Do I just want the color? Is it the color? Show me what I am doing. It's not divide. No, exclusion is going to work in the opposite of what I'm wanting to do. It's not overlay. Oh, that's why. I was clipped to the wrong layer. Okay, let me redo this. New layer. Multiply. And let's see. Let's paint with this texture. Let's see how far we can get along on this. Because I just kind of want to add a little bit more shadows to the... What we're looking at is the front of the characters. I don't think I want a whole bunch on the face. Yeah, that's going to be way too much. So let me undo this. I will not a clipping mask. That might have been what I was doing wrong earlier. So let me set it back to a color, and I will do a airbrush. Not that. Okay. Is it hue? One of these should just start applying that color, which I guess I can just leave it on the page for right now. Is it pin light? No, pin light's not gonna do much. Vivid light. Vivid light's what I'm looking for. That's what I was looking for. Alright, so now knowing that, let me erase this. Let me just move that off the screen. Okay, so now. So how long have you been creating digital art like this? You seem in your element, as if all this is second nature to you. I have been an artist my entire life. I think I got into digital illustration about 2015-ish. And I started out on my dad's copy of Photoshop, and I was just playing around with different things in there. But I've been doing digital art for a very long time. But I've been an artist my entire life. I think there's only been like 3 years that I have not actually created art. 2 of those were very stressful times. We're not going to talk about that. But I love being creative. I love learning new creative methods and different aspects of creativity. So, like my face is always buried in a screen, but not in a bad way. Like I'm always learning something. But yeah, I love digital art. I love traditional art. I love being able to help out other people with their crafts, not for my glory, because I genuinely I want people to be creative. I want people to make cool art. I want people to share their cool art with me. So that's my mentality about a lot of things, especially with art, and that motivates me to continue learning more, because I don't want to lead somebody in the wrong direction with creativity. It's rewarding knowing that you help somebody with that. But I did two art jobs that really propelled my career into digital art. I don't do it as a career anymore. I've stated that numerous times in past videos, or we won't get into that story. But I did artwork for one streamer, and that was kind of like the catalyst to really launch me into doing illustrations like this. I was kind of doing illustrations like this, but not like super hardcore. It was just kind of like lighthearted stuff. But I did all of her stream graphics, and I think it was in total of 50 different graphics, and that really helped me to develop different skills in digital art and really kind of push my limits. And then I did work with this is actually my very first graphic design job. Was a little firearm safety course here in Louisiana. They needed a new logo. They needed some social media graphics. So reached out to me, and I did some work for them, and I really had to test my knowledge of design for that. So doing a actual job, having a gig to do something, will really I can learn as much as I can by just doing it on my own. But when I have that like time pressure is really when the gears start grinding. But I also hate deadlines. You want to become an illustrator too. It is so much fun, but there's also a lot of stress to it. My cousin wants to get into graphic design and social media advertising, and I had a very lengthy conversation with her. I encouraged her completely, but I didn't hold anything back. There are stresses in it that a whole bunch of people really don't want to deal with. And for me personally, I stopped trying to pursue art as a profession because I hated the stress that came from it. I was also having problems with my heart back then, and I couldn't handle the stress at all. And the client that I was working with was very, very unruly and just didn't have any kind of any type of compassion for other people. They wanted what they want. They wanted what they want. So I was like, I'm done. I'm just gonna do things for fun. I'm gonna help people. I'm gonna make art that I like. And if I make something for somebody, it's gonna be a gift. But if you're gonna be an illustrator, if you're gonna be a graphic artist, get everything in writing. If you're doing things for money, get everything in writing. Because people will try to screw you over. I did one graphic for a previous boss of mine that was supposed to be a paid job. I didn't get it in writing. I knew better. And now I look at that on a billboard every single time I pass by it. Never got paid for it. No recognition for it. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I was the only artist at that company. So, but if you're trying to get your feet wet into the art world, professionally wise, if you can find some live streamers, very, very like low end live streamers, and you might actually like be able to get away with doing a large scale streamer, but offer to do a couple of illustrations for them, or just give some I can't speak. Send them an illustration just as a random gift, and there's a good chance that is going to spark something in them. And like, I like this art, I like this person, I want to do work with them. That's how it worked for me. Someone asked a question a while back, what is something that people don't do anymore that the current generation is missing out on? And some answered have hobbies, just to have hobbies. And that kind of hit. Everything is a side hustle now. I hate the term side hustle. Short, plain and simple. I hate it. Dude, you're scaring me. Am I making a mistake becoming a graphic designer? Absolutely not. 100% not making a mistake. As I said, I will gladly help you with any kind of questions that you have, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. But that's how I am with every other type of career path. You want to get into construction? Okay, these are the things you got to know. These are the things you're going to be dealing with. You want to get into programming? These are the things you got to know. These are the things you got to deal with. That's how it is with every career. There's stresses out there, and sometimes you can't figure it out until your feet are like you're already sunk in the mud. But if you're passionate about art, I'm going to look at you directly. If you're passionate about art, do not give up on art. If you want to make it a career, by all means make it a career. Don't take advice on that from some random dude on the internet. I want people to be encouraged, not discouraged. But I want you to know what you're going to be facing. Just have fun. Best advice I can give to an artist. Just have fun. Back to the art. Another rant. Yes, if you're just having fun, you're not going to even notice those things. I didn't like it because I had a whole bunch of things that were going on in life, and it was, I can't do art for fun. I got all these different things going on, and I was having health problems, and this customer was being like really, really adamant and just disrespectful. Like, I had a very bad client, but that's my reference point. I've had tons of phenomenal clients. Fair enough, sugarcoating it probably won't help much. In all honesty, it really doesn't. But yeah, I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, so everything was compounding. If I didn't have anything else going on and I was purely just doing graphic design, like I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. TJ being all wisdom. I'm weird. I'm not wise. I'm weird. But yeah, I absolutely loved doing design. I loved doing illustrations. I loved working with people. But there is stress involved, and at that point in time, I couldn't handle that stress. So I pushed it off, and I said, I'm done. And I got to a point to where I couldn't make art for me anymore. I was always having to make it for other people, and I couldn't enjoy it that way. So I had to get back and reteach myself how to make art for myself without having some grand scheme in the back of my mind, like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Like, there's no grand scheme for this. This is just an illustration. There's no grand scheme for live streaming any of this. It's just showing y'all my art. That's it. But if that's something that you're passionate about, 100% go for it. Just don't let your passion only become your profession, because then you're gonna hate it. Like right now, my passions are being creative. My passions are having fun. My career is drafting. My career is working with automation engineers. Like I never had any type of interest in that kind of stuff, but I get to use my creativity in that career. TJ, the weird and the wise. I'm yeah. I'll just go. I won't fight it. I'll just accept it. Rough when a client doesn't know what they want. Making art for others can be stressful for sure sometimes. You know what you're talking about, Spiffy, because you paint windows. I'm assuming that's what you like. You do that as a side profession. Is that right? But even still, working with other people, it can be stressful. But probably going back to you, Alex, real quick. Probably the one thing you're going to get the most trying to be an illustrator is you're going to encounter people who don't know what they want, and they don't know how to describe what they want. And some people will use that for nefarious purpose to try to get as many sketches as possible. But for the most part, people just genuinely don't know what they want, and it's a fun but also kind of a stressing part of like, all right, I did this, now I got to ask questions. Okay, I got to redo this, now I got to ask questions. But you get to learn a lot through that. You really get to learn a whole bunch through it. And there's a good chance that you're going to build a really good rapport with the client, and you may end up sinking in, solidifying more work in the future. But I'm not trying to stress you out. I'm not trying to make you worry about this. If you want to, go for it. Don't listen to some random guy on the internet. Okay. Back to what I was doing. I don't want to add too much on top of the face because I don't want it to just kind of wash everything else out. Just add a little bit more there. Can I do this all in the same? I can probably do this all in the same layer. I just want to add a darker, a uniform shadow across the back. I used to, but not so much now. Just a rare thing. I do it for just for myself now, though currently have no decent window murals at home. Well, you need to jump on top of that then. You need to start making some more murals for yourself. Camera, focus on me. But Alex, definitely surround yourself with as many encouraging artists as you can, and have a diverse style with each artist, so that way you can learn something from them and they can learn something from you. When you come to visit, I have a big floor front window. I have a big to the floor, okay, big to the floor front window. Well, see, there you go. Now you got a canvas. And I'm going to do another one way down here. I'll erase that in just a second. Drop this down. Sorry, I said that in a weird way. I'm a writer. I know how to use words, I swear. Are you sure, though? Are you sure? I'm just messing with you. I'm not a writer and I don't use words correctly. My intention is always the best, but my words are never right. Okay. So that's all done now. I am going to add, I can probably do it in orange. I can do an orange highlight. I want to add in some highlights. Just a few, just something there. That is not a highlight layer. I love how detailed the light work is. Something like that's something I like to do. Use the light in my art, but it's just in a way different way. Yeah, because you like let all the light bleed through like openings in your paintings, correct? Can't language most of the time, so I get it. You're among like-minded people then. Can I just do this? Can I go on top? I'm not clipped to anything. I was not trying to be clipped to anything. Let's see. How does that look? Is that what I want? I want to have some hair strands coming off, but it might be a little bit difficult with the line art being like that. I'm just going through my different layers real quick, just seeing, not my layers, my blending mode, seeing how I want this to actually look. Go ahead and set this to screen, I believe. Yep. Okay. Yep, and it helps if the window has direct sunlight at some point in the day. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, once it starts shining through, and technically you've done two. You got the shadow, and you've got the one on the actual window. Let me change this. I want this to have a little bit of a blue or purplish tone to it. So let me take this back to normal and select it, which that's probably not the most accurate color of it, but we're gonna work with it. Now I I want to come back in and add some highlights on the actual hair. I don't want a whole bunch of highlights. Highlights can really, like, they're so cool and they really add to an image, but they can also really take away from an image. How much time do you typically spend on an image that is as detailed as this one? So I used to be able to knock things out pretty quickly. This one has taken me 3 streams so far, and I think it roughly equates to about 8 hours, which kind of falls in line with the last time I tried streaming art. Was I did about 8-hour art sessions. I don't do that now, but yeah, about 8 hours for something like this these days. Also because I'm hyper fixating on details that really aren't necessary. If I wanted to just paint through as quickly as I could, there's a lot of these steps that I could leave out, but I'm not, because I don't want to. But something that's not as detailed as this, I could probably get away with about like 3-4 hours. Like if I'm just doing, like if I didn't have a background and it was only 1 or 2 characters, that'd probably be about 3 hours. Okay, I think that's enough for the hair. I'm not going to worry too much about that hair. So now let me make another layer. We're at 149 layers. That's the other thing. I don't need this many layers. I'm just doing it. Yeah, it's a lot of layers. I've maxed out a program before. I think it was about 600 or so layers. But that was a whole bunch of different illustrations that I just kept in one project and basically just kept making layer groups. But I found out what the max amount of layers was. And it was around like 600 like 50-ish. I think. I'm trying to remember if it was that or if it was within that bracket. It was more or less. I don't want that much. Okay, I think that's fine for the hair. I need to do a little bit of work on the beard. I'm just gonna do kind of roughly the same thing like I did for the shadows. I didn't know there was a max numbers of layers you could have. That's interesting. Well, it depends on the program and the device. So like on a previous version of the iPad, I think it was like the iPad Pro 11, something like that. Procreate, depending on the canvas size, it would max out your layers. Like Photoshop, I don't know what they've done recently. Clip Studio Paint, I don't know what they've done recently. But I was doing design within Clip Studio on a Surface Pro. I think it was like a Surface Pro 2. And that's how I maxed out on that one. I think it's all relative to like what the file size would ultimately come out to. I think it's to keep a file size down. I don't know exactly, so don't quote me on that one. But like, for example, I think this one on this size, this is, where is it at? Canvas, crop and resize. So 179 layers is the max for a 7:9 on Procreate right now at 300 DPI. Which means I'm about to run out of layers soon. So we may finish this out right at our max layers. Okay, so that is the hair. What is this set to? And some of these I could probably go back and merge them together. I'm just not going to do that just yet. So on this one, I can probably get away with coming down here and adding the little highlights down here. Okay. Yeah, so like I've got to still add layers or highlights. That's the word I'm looking for. I still need to add highlights to my characters, not just on the hair. I have to add that to the actual physical characters. So I'm going to add. I'm going to go back to this. And let's see. And then I'll probably come back and I'll also add another layer on top of my line art to have that all kind of blend in. So I can go back over. So as I'm doing now, I can paint over my line art, but it's not clipping to it. It's bleeding over it, and I don't want that to happen. So I'll probably go back in and individually color the line art in those areas. I must be off, but it was fun to see you create. Hope to lurk again sometime. Thank you so much for dropping in, Spiffy. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend. That's what I was trying to say. But thank you so much for dropping by. Okay, that's not going to help. And I'm just doing the harsh lighting, like the very, very hard lights. And I'm actually going to erase that right there. Some of these I got to come back and I've definitely got to add a little bit more to. so? No, not right there. Right there, yes. Let's see. Come down here. Well, not like that. Maybe not right there. Yeah, I'll avoid going over my liner as best as I can right now. I won't bother with that for right now. Light would still be coming through here on the bottom. At least a very, very little amount. Now I'll probably come back and add a soft shadow, soft light, not shadow. I've been doing shadows for so long on this. That's the only word that's coming out of my mouth. I'll be adding a soft light up underneath here. I'll also drop the opacity a little bit more on this once I get closer to the end. So anything that is kind of overlapping in an awkward way will kind of blend in a little bit better. But I will come and erase some of these like really noticeable spots. I don't know if I want to add any orange highlights to the hair. I probably won't. Let me not do that. And same thing like before, add a little bit of texture to the armor, just that way it's not completely straight lines. Same way down here, because that is catching a little bit of light. Okay. So now I'll come down here and I will do the same on the belt and the leather arm wraps. If I can draw it right. Probably don't need any highlights down here, but I'm going to add them anyway. And come down over here. Okay. And I'll just add some rough highlights to this character back here, which he's already got quite a bit of highlights on him, but we're gonna go for it anyway. Maybe not that much. Definitely not that much. Okay. Probably a little too much back there. I can select him and I can grab my airbrush tool real quick. Drop the opacity down and just do a quick flick over, and that's cool with me. So I think I'm trying to think. Let me go above. What am I looking for? I am looking for my airbrush again. I'm going to add a little bit more light coming through. I need to add some down here now that I know where my highlights are. Whoop, too much. I'm on the erase tool, that's why that's not working. Hi there too, I'm Alex, came here from YouTube to subscribe here too. Well, thank you so much. Artistic Raccoon, that's a very funny username. But thank you so much for following on both. Again, I'm sorry that for some reason no notifications are going on. That's something I'm going to do some testing around with. But thank you so much for following on both YouTube and Twitch. And also thank you for letting me go on a little bit of rant about art. I think there's a little too much down here. I think I need to add a little bit of additional texture to the metal. Just a hint of texture to it, not anything crazy. Like, I want to indicate that it does have a drop-off edge. I go on rants all the time. You're good, don't worry. Awesome. I tend to only go on rants about things I'm very passionate about. For the most part, I really don't go on rants. I'm usually the quiet one hanging out in the back. Also, it's your channel, do whatever you want. That is true, but I still want to be entertaining. I'm not trying to do this for a profession or get recognition. I'm just doing this to have fun, but I also want to be helpful and not... I want to be helpful, I want to have fun, and I also want to actually work on illustrations, because I'm also using this as a disciplinary act to get me to actually work on illustrations. That and people who come around just to watch art don't really want to hear a whole bunch of rants. So it's hit or miss. I'm supposed to just be adding highlights to the armor. Just the armor. Okay. Let's see, can I... Nah, I don't think it's going to look good adding it there. All right. Okay. I think I'm happy for the most part. Is that a little too much? Let me drop that down just a hair. And where is that group of lines? Right there. I want to drop the opacity of this just a bit. I want to add a... Is it an overlay that I'm thinking of? Is it an overlay? Possibly. I just want to add a little bit of a warm tone to the image to uniform it all. Let's see. I don't want to do hard lights. Is it a vivid light? I think it might be vivid light. I want to play around with this, see if I can figure out what I'm trying to go for. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I was doing. Okay, color, no. Luminosity, no. Saturation, no. I think I'm gonna stick with vivid light. Vivid light will kind of bring everything together in a uniform way. And let me do a purple vivid light. It's a hard light. And I will erase. I'm just going to play around with this idea real quick, see if it's going to do what I want it to do. I want to kind of blend the two together. Like all this, I want this to be majority orange, but I want there to be more purple in the shadows. So is that kind of what I want? A little bit. Okay. So, let me think. Let me decide if this is finally the point where we start blurring out the background and wrapping this image up. Let me think. Let me try this. Vivid light. Let me get a really, really dark color. Can I add something that looks a little bit more like a vignette? At least down towards the bottom. Be a little bit too much. Okay. Let me do an add. Come back up to a brighter color. That might be a little too much. I think that's a little too much. No, hang on. Is it blending right? I think it's blending okay. I'm gonna leave it there for now. I'm gonna leave it. I'll come back down to my line art. This is what I was talking about earlier. And now, in areas that are lit up, I will try to add a little bit of highlights to that. That might be too much in some areas, but areas like down here, that'd be perfectly fine. Because I've also used my line art as my shadows, I don't want to take away entirely from them, because I do use them as the darkest parts of my image. But what I can also do in some areas, like right over here on the face, I can come in. It's not going to be how I want it to be because I've got too large of a gap between the lines. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Even if I came in on this layer, yeah. Let's do this. Let me select this dark pink. Yeah, that's the empty layer. Oh, too big. Go back and erase this. How would that look if I made all of my lines like that? A little bit pink. Leave it a little bit darker. Probably not like that. Do more of a desaturated color. That's fine. I just kind of wanted to roughly match the skin tone. And down here, as I've stated before, you're going to get blurred out, so it's not really going to matter. Let me do a little bit more work on the hair of the mage. Do a little bit, if I can do a little bit lighter color, like maybe I can pull out this lavender color and kind of blend things up a little bit more. Sorry, 004 Chevy. Give me 1 second. I've got auto mod turned on over on Twitch. But how are you? I hope you're having a fantastic day. I don't think I want to do entirely white on here. Can I do a little bit of a, just something to hint at the lines? I don't know if I want to do that. Am I on a different layer? I am on a different layer. Okay. So with that in mind, I can drop the opacity. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing very good. And okay, I won't apologize. Sorry, I just did that again. I'll apologize however many times I want. But I am doing wonderful. How was your Saturday going? I'm going to drop the opacity down of this a little bit more just so that the darker lines still show through. Okay, and I think I could be here the rest of the day working on this. I think I just want to add a little bit more shadows, and I think we'll call it done there and wrap this up. Just vibing and chilling and cooling. That's good. Glad to hear you're having such a good day. So, how'd you come across my stream? Are you an artist as well? If you are an artist, what type of art medium do you work with? What do you do? Digital? Do you do traditional? Do you just like watching art? Or am I just completely randomly popping up on your feed and you just decide to stick around? More shadow is always good. Hello, Shadow Van Dark. How are you? I saw you were live streaming earlier. I'm sorry I didn't drop in. I'm sorry. All right. I think I'm good. I think overall I'm pleased with it. I think we can begin to wrap this one up. Finally, it's taken 3 streams to do it, but we're almost there. Okay. So, first off, I want to do this. Let me duplicate this so that way I don't screw up any of my stuff. How dare you not observe my content whenever I'm online? I'm terribly sorry. I've been very busy. And today I was stressing trying to get all of this together. You just like watching art? Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy watching this. So what I want to do, that is all the light shining behind the characters. This is all on the clouds, so that means that's my background. And I'm going to flatten that, and I'm going to blur that out in a moment. Going to group that. Okay. Going to flatten that because that is the castle. I do not need my line art on this shell. Let's see. That is... Oh, that's cool. That's cool looking. That was a happy little accident. Okay, so now let's do a Gaussian blur. We'll do a little bit, not a whole bunch. And then we will come in and let me duplicate this in case I need a little bit of a rework later on. I'm going to do that with all of my stuff actually. So let me go back and undo the blend or the blur. Okay. Turn that off. Blur this. Not that much. We'll do about 5%. Duplicate the castle. Crank it up to 300%. I think I can only go up to 100%, but okay, we'll do that. So here, look, this is the back, this is the castle. Whoop. 100%. Oh my gosh, the castle's gone! Somebody took the castle! Oh no, there it is. It was illusion magic. Do roughly 4% on that. And I may do a clipping mask on top of that and add some shadows and highlights to that. So characters now. So let me group that. Can I duplicate that, or is that, yeah, that's gonna push me past my max layers. So we're just going to say flatten, and I will have to blur out the characters kind of individually as I go. So let me duplicate this, and I will do each one individually. So I will add a blur here. Hang on. Let me rethink this, because I may need to have everything blended together, because these are all highlights that all belong together. With that, group, flatten, not what I want to do. Let's see, will you group up? You're not wanting to blend how I want you to. So can I just blend all of these together? Yes, I can. That's still not going to work. All right. So yeah, that's not going to do how I want it to be. All right. So that's good to know. So I really would like to try and how do I want to do this? I want to blur out the characters. So I will blur you out. And then I will blur you out a little bit more. And then I will go back and I will erase the characters that I don't want blurred out. Did I just do that all in the same one? I did. Okay, so let me duplicate this one, because that is all the characters that are, and let me lock that so that way I don't screw it up. And now we come back through and I will erase, nope, wrong one. I'll have to also kind of blur out the highlights a bit too, because those are still visible. Like, let me see, can I do this? Can I? I'll do a little bit of blurring. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Let me do 2%. 2% of a blur, and that's perfectly fine for me. And let me duplicate the mage one more time. And I'll add a little bit more of a blur, but that is only because I want to blur out as it goes down. I want to bring the focus to the top half of the character. So, let's see. Probably is a little too much, but I think that's fine. And I'll also do that. Let me unlock this, duplicate, and I want to take it beneath everything and activate it, and that will kind of give a little bit more shape back to it. Anything that got taken away, it will be a little bit more visible. Okay, I think that's fine. So now let me jump back to the castle layer. I'll create a clipping mask for that. I will do a multiply layer. I will keep this in the airbrush tool because we are already blurred out. I don't want any sharp lines at this point. And all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of darker pockets to show the form in case anything got taken away from it. And now I'll make a highlight layer, and I will go on top, clip it to the castle again. And now we will add the orange highlights on top of that. And I may need to drop the opacity down. That's okay, that's a given at this point. Don't want it that sharp. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say it's done right there. Again, I could be sitting here the rest of the day working on every little last bit of detail for it, but I think that's going to wrap it up here. Because I got all my characters shaded, got all my characters highlighted, got the sky highlighted, painted and blurred, got the background blurred, got the characters progressively blurred as they go off into the distance, and I think we're done. I think we're done. It's taken 3 streams to do it, but I think we're done. I think so. I really think we're done here. But I love the way that some of these colors have come out. I didn't do as much detail down here on the gemstones as I wanted to, but I also wasn't 100% confident on that anyway. Not overworking the art. Who are you and what did you do with TJ? TJ's gone. I'm now more moderation TJ. But I do think this is a phenomenal wrapping up point, and I think that will finish this one off. So hopefully next time we'll be working on a brand new illustration if I don't decide to come back to this one. But I don't think I will be. I've got a couple more kind of like in the bag that I want to work on. So I think this is a nice wrapping up point for here, and it is 1:50. I've got stuff that I've got to go do today. And yeah, this was the first time I've streamed to Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, and YouTube Shorts, and I think it worked out pretty well, minus like the 10 minutes that Twitch just decided to drop out all sound. So, but I think it worked out pretty good. If you guys liked seeing me in these different formats and on these different platforms, then please let me know how y'all like it, and we'll continue on doing that. Or if you just want me to stay on Twitch, I'll just stay on Twitch. But as always, fantastically cute and great art. Glad I was able to tune in time for it again. Lord of the Rats, hello! I'm sorry we're wrapping things up here. But hello, thank you so much for dropping in. This is the art piece that we worked on today. I'm so sorry that you came in at the end. Yeah, if y'all liked seeing me on these different platforms, then please let me know. And if you haven't seen the vertical format, please go check it out on YouTube and Instagram. Tell me what you think about it. But yeah, I think this is a great wrapping up point for this illustration and a great wrapping up point for the day. This has turned out a lot better than what I was originally intending it to actually look like. And I'm pretty pleased with it. There are a couple things I'm a little disappointed with, but We're not going to fixate on that. We're not going to sit here all day and tweak it. But yes, I hope you all had a fantastic time watching. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in and chit-chatting with me and hanging out with me on this fantastic Saturday. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I really thought it was still in the morning. It's not. It's 1:52 in the afternoon. But yes, all of y'all, if you worked on anything while you were here, please shoot me a message. Let me see what you were working on. And yeah, I'll catch y'all next time. I don't know when I'm going to stream again. Again, it's all about when I have time. But I want to do it as much as I can. But it's all when I have time. But, sorry, my audio's catching up again. Let me take this out so I don't have to hear myself talking now. And I can also take these off. But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And I will see you guys next time. And let's go ahead and head on out. Also, Shadow, check this out. I have a new outro. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. See y'all next time.